Okay, so this question comes from Ryan P, and it's a bit of a book question here. So let me read through it, and then we will try to answer all of these different questions all wrapped in one. Let's see here. Let me start by saying that I watched your YouTube video about Linux live CDs for security and hacking, but I have several questions for you that I hope you might be able to answer in regards to the Ubuntu Linux OS. Firstly, I noted that you said in the video that live CDs are a great way of keeping your computer malware free. I was a bit skeptical when I heard this, but I later found on the Malwarebytes Unpacked blog that one of the writers there said the same thing. I have my doubts about this though. If it is possible to access and change certain things in the PC that you are running, then wouldn't it be possible for a virus or malware to simply infect your real hard drive by going through those options on the live CD? So the first question is I've talked about using live CDs before for things like hacking purposes and for security purposes. And the thing to realize about a live CD or a live DVD nowadays, a live optical disc is more the thing, is basically you have the entire operating system literally on the disk, a bootable operating system, not an installable operating system, but a bootable operating system. So what happens is you burn the ISO into a disk, you plug that into your computer, you then do boot off of CD or DVD-ROM drive, and then what happens is you boot into a full GUI environment, normally when you're dealing with Ubuntu. And so the entire operating system resides on that disk. Now the question then well, if your entire operating system resides on a read-only disk, does that prevent you from getting any kind of malware or viruses? Since it's read-only, if you can't write to the disk, it's only read-only, right? And so generally, by and large, I would say using live disks on your computer is the best way to prevent malware and viruses. Now the question then becomes, well, what if you have a really, really smart hacker and you still have a hard drive on your computer that is still accessible, since it's still plugged into your computer? Could a virus still come in through the live disk and then be able to write itself to the hard drive? Can't. Not saying it's impossible. You don't see it a lot. One, you don't see a lot of viruses written for Linux. I mean, that's just point of fact. Whether or not Linux is more secure than Windows, that's a different question. But the reality is so few people use Linux in a graphical user environment anyway, that there simply are not as many people attacking Linux. So generally, there's just not as many viruses and malware and crap to attack Linux to begin with. Then to go from simply not just trying to attack Linux, but then to go and attack live CDs. I mean, live CDs are cool and all, but frankly, how many people in the world use them? So I would argue from a security standpoint, live disks are very good. But as with everything, there's vulnerabilities, right? There's vulnerabilities. If you have a hard drive that can be written to, theoretically, then in fact a hacker or a virus or a malware could write to it. So if you're really worried about it, you're like, Eli, I want the most secure system possible. All you would have to do is go into your computer and literally unplug the hard drive, and then there's nothing to write to, right? The computer boots off of the live disk, and then there's literally nothing to write to. So there's no way to keep a permanent virus. Theoretically, you could still get a virus or malware, but the thing is, it would be temporary. So when you're running a live disk, the operating system, the software, and all that you're running actually gets loaded into RAM. So theoretically, you could download a virus or a bot or a piece of malware that would reside in RAM. But the thing is, even if that did happen, as soon as you reboot the computer, RAM gets completely wiped, and so that virus would go away. So it would not be a permanent virus, if you get what I'm saying. So the first thing is, I wouldn't be worried about it. I'm not trying to be blasé about this. I wouldn't be that worried about it. But but if you are truly worried about it, then all you do is you unplug the hard drive, and then there's literally no writable media that somebody can attack. Secondly, is it possible to get viruses or malware on the live CD itself? I was looking at making a live CD version on a bootable USB drive instead of a CD, but I wasn't sure if it is safer to go with the CD. Yes, it is definitely safer to go with the CD. So now with these live discs, not only can you create live optical discs, but you can also create live USB drives. So basically you have this little thumb drive, you turn that into the live operating system. Instead of booting off of the optical disk, you would then boot off the USB drive. Basically the same thing. It all gets pulled into RAM, and then you're interacting with the operating system in RAM versus a local hard drive. The thing you have to realize, though, is the nice thing about optical disks is they are read-only media. Generally, they're read-only media. USB sticks are not read-only media. So if you take that USB stick and let's say before you shut down the computer, you plug the USB stick into the computer. As soon as you plug that USB stick into the computer, since it's a writable media, that computer that has Windows or whatever on it before you reboot it may actually be able to infect that USB stick. You then restart the computer into the live format, and then it may be able to transfer a virus that way. So if you're looking for if you're truly looking for security, stay with the optical discs. That is the best way to keep it secure, because anything that's a writable, that's what I like about live CDs or live discs, is because they're not writable. They're fundamentally not writable. As soon as you make anything writable, it can be written too, and then all hell breaks loose. So again, not overly worried about it. Not overly worried about it, but it is definitely something to think about. Thirdly, I noticed on another YouTube video and elsewhere that people are claiming that Ubuntu ships with spyware in it. Is that true? If so, then is it bad to use Ubuntu? I am a first-time Linux user and was looking at the live CD idea for playing around with Ubuntu OS, but if there is spyware, I am not sure how to get rid of it. Oh, here's a problem with all this. I don't know specifically for Ubuntu. The issue is nowadays that the definition of spyware has just gotten so big, especially after the NSA leaks. Like, oh my golly, everything is considered a piece of spyware nowadays. So if you're asking me, are there malicious Russian hackers that have somehow gotten their spyware into the Ubuntu distribution? I would argue that's probably a low probability. If you're asking, has Ubuntu Conical, which is the company that creates Ubuntu, manages Ubuntu, has Conical added services that contact the cloud that could possibly transmit your information up to the cloud? Is that possible? That's more than likely. For a long time now, they've been... It's really interesting with Ubuntu and Conical, but they're like everybody else trying to merge the desktop experience or the physical experience with the cloud experience. So as they've been doing that, you get a little bit cloudy with what they do with your data. Also, there is concern, like with Ubuntu, that one of the ways they make money is through an Amazon affiliate linking thing. So like when you do a search for, let's say, music or videos on your computer, you also see Amazon options show up in that search. What you have to realize is that can be considered a form of spyware, because that means every time you do a search, that search query will go up to those different types of servers. So it'll go up to Google or it'll go up to Amazon. So therefore it is spying on you in order to then try to present results that it thinks you like. So this has been a bigger and bigger issue nowadays with a lot of these modern operating systems, where when you do a local search, you also get web results. Well, for you to get web results from a local search, it means that local search actually has to get pushed up to the cloud, to whatever internet service, whether it's Google or Bing or Amazon or whatever else. So theoretically, they can spy on you that way. Again, that is a wide definition of spyware. Eli, the computer guy, wouldn't be worried about it. If you really are worried about it, again, there's a zillion live disks out there. There's Fedora you could use. There's probably Knoppix is still around. Knoppix was the original. Mint, I think, has one. Puppy, DSL. There's a zillion different live disks out there. So if you're worried about that, do a little search, figure it out. Again, as far as Ubuntu is concerned, I'm not worried about it, but I know other people are. Let's see here. Fourthly, let's see here. Do you have to update the live CDs with the most up-to-date versions of every time a new version is released for Ubuntu, etc., or whatever other Linux OS you might use for a live CD? So, since this is non-writable media, do you have to update them? And the answer basically is no. It really comes down to what you are using those live disks to do. Generally not. The only way it might cause you problems is if it doesn't have like the latest version of something like Flash Player on there. Maybe videos wouldn't play properly. But otherwise, I mean, again, I've got my Knoppix book back here from like 2005. I could pull out the 2005 version of Knoppix and use it for a lot of things. I could use it for web browsing. I could use it to write term papers. I could use it for administration and hacking and a lot of things. Like anything else, if you have an outdated piece of software, there might be a couple of things in there you can't use. The question is do you need to use those things? The only thing that really screams from the top of my head that might be a problem is like something like Adobe Flash, or maybe like driver support. So if you go out and you buy an absolutely brand new laptop computer and you want to use a live CD, a live CD from a year ago might not have the drivers on it, that type of thing. But otherwise, I wouldn't be really worried about it. And additionally, with Ubuntu, their versions come out, I think it's like every 6 months. So you just burn a new disk every 6 months. There's no upgrade process. You simply download the ISO, you burn a new disk, and away you go. So no big deal. And then the final question, fifthly and lastly. On a side note, I am currently attending college and I'm looking to obtain a degree in computer science. I was looking at going into the area of cybersecurity since it is a big passion of mine. What is it with you guys in cybersecurity? Oh. I don't know. It seems like everybody nowadays wants to be a hacker or cybersecurity. Doesn't anybody just want to be a database administrator anymore? Anyways, I was let's see here. However, I've been unable to fully find a way to learn about and understand the ways that hackers work and the tools they use, etc. The reason I've been unable to learn this is because I'm afraid that I might infringe upon the law or something while I'm trying to learn these things about hacking. Do you have any advice for an up-and-coming IT security analyst in terms of where I can read about the laws or what I can and can't do when researching on the internet? Well, my best advice, this is the advice I give everybody, is stop worrying about it. Again, my less than humble advice is when you talk about security or hacking is a niche of the overall computer industry. I would argue if you really want to be good at security or hacking is you go in and you learn the systems you want to be working on backward and forward, inside and out, and then you learn about the security of those systems. So again, if you wanted to be like a security analyst, is you go out and you learn how to create web applications. So you go out there and you learn Ruby or you learn Python, you learn how to connect them to NoSQL databases. You learn how the communications between the Ruby web page and the database happens. And then from there, you can figure out where all the security holes are, right? So if you go out and you start building your own little web applications and you do it from a mindset of trying to build them securely, you can figure out how to build them securely. And then when you go to somebody else's, let's say you go to a startup company or whatever, and you say, I would like to analyze your web application to see if it's in security compliance, and they allow you, you can go in, you can go, oh, look, when this database talks to this database, the information is in between isn't encrypted, and so what you need to do is this type of encryption level, right? But that all comes from actually knowing how all this stuff works. I mean, really, truly, from the bottom of my heart personally, what I hate with a passion is all these people that want to walk into security from day one. Security should not, I'm not saying you can't, I'm not saying dumbasses won't hire you, but security should not be a day one profession. This should not be something you walk out of college and you walk into a security job day one. You should walk into a security job day 5 years, right? I mean, that's just how it is, because so many of the security problems we have nowadays are the most dumbass things in the world, right? I mean, like, when you start talking about security, you get servers, server rooms that also are broom closets. You get into all kinds of weird physical security issues. You get into all kinds of, the CEO wants something and the CIO wants something and the board wants something else, and then how to turn that into any kind of security that anybody cares about, right? So if you're really going to do security, there's so many of these. They're just things that you literally, you can almost not learn them in any kind of educational environment. They're just so stupid and foolish until you're sitting there one day looking at them. You won't believe that they even exist. So I would argue security is one of those things. 5 years, day 5. Get your college degree, work your ass off, learn technology, learn computers, learn all of that, and then 5 years worried about security. That would be my argument. The other thing you can look at is if you are going into a computer science program now, your college or university usually has like computer security or computer forensics specializations. Not because you should take the classes, but because they're big money. Again, everybody wants to do it. You can become a computer security professional. But you know what I'm saying? So you can do that. The other thing, if you're interested in learning more, is you can take a look at some of these more reputable websites, such as like DEF CON. So DEF CON, they have a conference. They have some Get Educated. You can barely see it on here. It's really crappy web design. DEF CON media server, so speeches, music, torrents, all that kind of stuff. So you may take a look at something like DEF CON, or they have a conference sometime. When is the conference? DEF CON 23. I want details. So that's August 6th through 9th over in Las Vegas. Or you can go over to something like Black Hat. Black Hat is another one of these conferences. They have conferences all over the world. So you may take a look at those. Take a look at them, see what they have to say. I would say, honestly, if you're a noob, stay away from it, because, yeah, these are my socks, if you're wondering. It's just security. Just people trying to learn about security and hacking when they don't understand computers, it's just a bad idea. I can't tell you how bad an idea it is, because you don't know what you should be scared of. Right? And so from the security of your own home, you can just get yourself into so much nasty little trouble. I just think it's a bad idea. I mean, if you don't know networking, if you're asking me these questions about live CDs, man, don't worry about this hacking and security or any of that right now. I would say keep it really totally in college, or go over, take a look at this Black Hat stuff and start to get into it. It's just, yeah, I get scared, because the reason I get scared is I know enough hackers, and hackers is one of those communities that they don't necessarily like noobs, or they're not nice to noobs. You know what I'm saying? They're just, if you go into the hacking community and you're like, I'm a noob, that's like putting a big ass target on your forehead, and just bad stuff can happen to you. It really can. So I would, like I said, I always argue this: learn technology first, learn computer science first, and then go from there, so you know what your vulnerabilities are. I wouldn't go from it day one. As far as you yourself learning how to hack, I want to learn how to hack, Eli. The main thing that you have to remember is basically what will keep you on the right side of the law is, I'm not a lawyer. Do not take this as legal advice. This is just general advice. Is only hack your own systems, only attack your own systems. So, so set up your own little lab environment, then use something like Kali Linux or something like that, or Backtrack, to test vulnerabilities and all that kind of stuff, but only attack systems that you actually, in fact, own, and make sure the network you're doing the attack on is isolated, right? So, so if you're going to college, don't do some kind of scraping or whatever on your dorm's network, right? You're like, well, I'm only trying to find information about my personal computer, but it goes out and it like scrapes or grabs all this information from 100 other computers within the dorm, because that can cause you problems. Again, one of the problems with you guys going out there and hacking and doing all that kind of stuff is you can't you don't know enough to visualize the systems that may be used against you. And so I've seen this happen in the real world, and I saw a professional get, oh, so hard. I mean, like a real professional get hammered real hard for this, where the real professional was having some help done, and basically the real professional was going to leave the company that they were with, and there were documents that the real professional owned. Basically the professional part of how all of it works is their data goes into the system, but they retain ownership over the data. So when they leave the company to go to a different company, they can ask for the data back. So the data goes into the company system, but when they part ways, the person gets the data back. Well, what they did is they had one of these little noobs try to help them out get the data, and what the noob did was they decided to do basically a data dump from the systems of this company. As soon as they did a data dump, they didn't realize that set off massive red flags for the sysadmins. The sysadmins then literally went running to the CEO to say, I don't know what the hell's going on, but this employee just tried to dump like 5 gigs of data. And things spun out of control really quickly. And the problem is because this noob that was helping this person didn't even think about the fact that a company like this would have the systems in place to automatically be able to detect and shut down a data dump, and that's a really bad thing. And so that's the issue. Like, I worry about you guys, because if you start using something Kali Linux or Backtrack, you plug into your dorm's network and it starts scanning or it starts scraping, it starts doing any of this stuff, you may not even realize that the dorm security system will be able to detect that attack and will be able to track it back to your dorm room and your computer, and you may end up getting expelled for nothing more than trying to screw around and doing a little experiment, right? That's why I get scared with you guys. And you're like, oh, that wouldn't happen. Yes. Yes, it does. Especially with people being worried about hackers and all that kind of stuff right now. So yeah, that would be the thing. So take a look at DEF CON, take a look at Black Hat, go to YouTube, watch some videos if you really want. But I'm going to tell you, as a professional, I would say put it to the side. That is the 5-year plan. Learn Python, learn Ruby, learn databases, learn networking, learn computers and technology. And then once you've learned that, because really, I mean, that's what makes me lose my mind with all these people who want to be security experts. I want to be a security expert. You know what security is in the real IT world? Yeah, honestly, I'm not being a smartass here. You know what security is in the real IT world? It is good administration. If you perform good system administration or network administration, blah, 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 it is de facto secure, right? If the people in your company are doing proper administration, you don't need a lot of security experts to make sure what's going on. I mean, basically, you know, you need very few security experts in the real world, because you need enough people to understand the current attacks going on and the current types of attacks that are going on, so that they can come to a company, they can consult, they can walk in and they say, okay, you need to swap out these routers and you need to implement these group policies and you need to do this, and then they walk away. Because the thing is, like with a lot of the security and the hacking, one type of preventive tool will protect you from a zillion other problems. You know, basically, I saw a research paper, and it was a genuine research paper, and literally said like 99% of all attacks that compromised big mega corporations involved unpatched operating systems, unpatched software on the operating systems, not using proper group policies, and there was something else like right along those lines, right? You don't need a security expert to tell you to update your damn systems or to update your Adobe Flash or to do any of this. I mean, it's all, so much of security is just dumb, basic stuff. So yeah. I don't know. That's my little rant there. So take all of that and go with it. Again, be careful when you play around with hacking. I'm serious. There would be nothing worse for you than to be playing around on your little dorm network and literally get expelled from school because you're doing something you shouldn't do. So only if you are going to play around with hacking, only do it on your systems within an isolated environment. And that's it. That is it.